Welcome to Spirit Outspoken, where we dive deep into the realms of spirituality, healing, and the beautiful chaos we call life.
From ancient traditions to modern practices, we are going to explore it all. Whether you're a newbie or a seasoned seeker, you're guaranteed to find something that inspires, challenges, and intrigues you here.
So grab your favorite beverage, find a cozy spot to curl up, and join us for Spirit Outspoken. Welcome back to this week's episode of Spirit Outspoken. Jasa and I are excited to be here today with a little bit more of a casual approach to the episode.
Yes.
In that we are preparing, like everyone else, for the upcoming holiday of Christmas. And we decided to take the pressure off and allow us a chance to chit-chat a little bit more in this episode.
Yes.
And also to discuss what Christmas really is about. And we're going to be using the 4 pillars of Advent to keep our focus on what the holiday is really about. Talk about what can potentially get in the way of that. And, you know, maybe some things in our own life that get in the way and block that a little bit. And also some things that we might be able to do to start incorporating those elements into the holiday season for ourselves and for our families.
I like that.
Yeah. So, how are you feeling, Jasa? Because next week, it just dawned on me today that next week is Christmas.
Next week is Christmas. Also, our kids are out of school for 2 weeks. That
the countdown
also feels overwhelming. I know, like this time of the year always sneaks up on me. I just realized, like, yeah, Christmas is around the corner, and also having our kids home for 2 full weeks. I feel like my problem mentally is that I always do the countdown to Christmas, but I really should be doing the countdown until the kids are home, because like when the kids are home, nothing productive is happening.
That's right.
Work, you know, Christmas preparation, podcast, none of that stuff. It all comes to like a screeching halt. So I don't feel totally prepared.
Yeah.
My husband and I have both decided just to kind of take the pressure off this year.
Yeah.
So much of this is self-inflicted. Did we do enough? Are they going to like this? Are we going to like that? And it's just, we've really lost the essence and the spirit of Christmas, and sort of this like hustle and bustle, and I don't know, the consumerism of Christmas has totally overwhelmed me. And I don't know how you feel, but it's hard for us because we have 3 little boys. So trying to come up with like distinct things that each of them would like that are separate, but there wouldn't be necessarily like envy or like, oh, I really want that, feels so hard. And also, I don't mean to be a Scrooge, but buying things for the sake of buying things, it gets me.
Me too. You're speaking my language.
I have a really hard time with it.
It just feels wasteful and unnecessary.
Absolutely. And I love my children deeply, but I can say wholeheartedly that I don't want to say they're spoiled, but like they have enough. They have more than enough.
Yeah.
And I don't know, just having exposure to other families that are dealing with much bigger real problems, it just seems like a waste. And I don't know. I'm trying to like reconcile that, but also realize we only have a few years left where everybody is really embracing the magic of Christmas, waking up early to the gifts under the tree. There is magic about that.
And their excitement and living that through them.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to, you know, reconcile the two. But I don't know, like this year we didn't put up a single decoration outside. Last year we went gangbusters with it. You know, I don't know. We're just kind of, we're going to go with the flow.
I saw something on social media that I really liked, that was this idea that just because you've done something once does not mean that it needs to be a tradition and done every year.
Oh,
and I
like
love that because sometimes we do something one time and then we feel like, well, I did it last year. I got to do it again this year. And it's like, does it feel right this year? Does it still fit into the family this year? Do you have enough energy and capacity to do it this year? Do your kids still in love? You know, like this whole idea of just doing it because we've always done it. I think it's refreshing to be like, you know what? Does it still work? Do we even want to do this?
Right.
And giving yourself the freedom to let go of things that maybe aren't serving you or your household anymore.
Okay, I love that because it's self-imposed pressure. Like,
nobody's telling us to do this. I'm guilty of it too.
But you know what our Christmas hack was just like to leave the Christmas lights on the back deck all year and just plug them in.
Yeah, hey, like, that works too.
You know what? I was like, wait, they're still up. And great, they still work. You know, it was a win-win. I was like, there's no way these are going to still work. And luckily they did. So yeah, I think that's good because oh my gosh, it's like skincare. I swear to God. It's like I'll have a new product. I'm like, I think that's working. And then I get add on another one. And then I add on another one. All of a sudden it's like, I have to use these five products because something's working, but I don't know what is.
Yeah.
No, but it's true. It doesn't need to build and build so it becomes unmanageable.
Yeah. So when we talk about Christmas and the true meaning of Christmas, we're going to get into a little bit about, we're using the Advent calendar as kind of our inspiration for this episode. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. But just for yourself, when you think and reflect on what Christmas really is about, what are a few words that you would use to describe it?
I think it's a time to come together with family, to be mindful. I almost feel like Christmas has always been a time where everybody stops and pauses. Mm-hmm. People put the work down, It's always consistently been a time that people respect in terms of allowing people space and the time just to be present.
That is so true. That even other holidays now are not sacred.
Absolutely not. That's a really good way to put it. It feels sacred. And it is. We're Christian. We celebrate the birth of Christ. But there are so many things about Christmas that, as a lover of spirituality, there's so much magic to the season. And I think, a lot of historians don't even know if Christ was born in December. They actually don't think he was.
Right.
Based on facts in the Bible of, when the angel appeared to the shepherd, they're like, well, that usually wouldn't be happening in December. That would be happening in a different time of year with the sheep. It doesn't matter. It's more like the intent or the essence of Christmas just feels really magical. The twinkling lights, the sacredness. I think that's what it is. Like
it is so true.
I feel it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I feel it. So I think there's like a reverence to it that, I don't know, has always felt really special to me.
Reverence. I like that word. Yeah.
How about you?
You touched on a lot. So family was the first word that came to mind.
Yeah.
Stillness and peace.
Oh.
Reflection. For me, it's always a time of reflecting what's important in my life, also what the last year has been, and kind of looking ahead to, newness.
Yes.
When I think about the birth of Christ, it reminds me of this fresh start, this new mode. So there's a little bit of that. But yeah, I agree. There's something so magical and beautiful. So just cozy, reflection, family,
home,
yes. All those things.
Yes.
And what's ironic is, that's what we all kind of associate with Christmas.
Yes.
And yet the consumerism, like you were talking about, is so opposite that. It's
totally
hustle
counter.
and go and Christmas party. And those are fun things. I'm not saying not to do them.
I agree with you,
But we lose the meaning of Christmas when we're so busy and distracted.
There's no
stressed.
time for stillness.
No.
It's like, what am I doing next? What do I have to buy? What do I have to wrap? What do I have to hide? Oh, I forgot about that. And is this equal? Is that? It's like, man, this is such an overused term, but like the mental load of Christmas feels heavy.
Yes.
And it shouldn't be. It really should be a time of stillness, reverence, peace, family, home, all of the things that you outlined. And maybe it's just because it's the stage of life we're in. You know what I mean?
When our kids are older, it will probably be a little older. More calm.
It'll be a slow morning. We can have the cinnamon buns in the morning. We can make the Christmas cookies without someone crying or cutting themselves.
Having a temper tantrum.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. My oldest was like, can we do Christmas traditions? And I was like, oh, for the love of God, what else could we be doing? But I was like, sure. What did you have in mind?
What would you like to do, little dear?
Exactly. And he was like, I really like to make cookies. And I'm like, okay, well, yes, like in theory, that sounds really nice.
Yes.
Right. But, I've also learned over the years too, that there's an element of just doing too much.
Yes.
And having the expectations of doing things like making cookies where, it was 3 boys. It doesn't always go as planned. But yeah, so maybe that's what it is. Maybe there's a season ahead for us where it doesn't feel so hustle and bustle.
One thing I was just thinking of was, so as a kid, my mom was so good at making the holidays magical.
Yes.
And she did the fun things, you know, and the fun traditions and put out decorations and all that. But she was just so good she was always so genuinely happy.
Yes.
At the holidays. And just her happiness and her excitement and how content and joyful and how much fun she was having, honestly, is what I remember most about the holidays. And I think that's such a good reminder for us as moms. A couple years ago, I did a post, on Instagram of like the best thing you can give to your kids this holiday season is your time and your attention and your love. They sense that stress and that everything. And I just think sometimes we feel so pressured to do it all that we're not only ruining the holiday for ourselves, but we're also inadvertently impacting our children's experience.
It's so true. Because they're not going to remember, okay, when I was 8, I got blah, blah, blah toy.
They don't care about.
I can't remember. There's a couple things that stick out that, I really wanted that my parents got. But you're right. It's more like the feeling of Christmas.
I think what your kids are going to remember about the holidays is not how beautiful the spread was on the table or that you wrapped their gift perfectly in something. It's going to be how they felt.
It's how they felt. And they're going to remember the joy and the love in the home.
Yeah.
So that's a really good point. So if you feel like you're doing so much that it's taking away from your own happiness, your own peace, your own enjoyment of the holidays, that could be inadvertently backfiring on you.
Right.
Right. So prioritize time, prioritize presence, and not presence.
As in your full self being fully aware and in the situation.
Instead of T. Yes, because that's really what our children want and need. And they may say they want something different, but truly that's what they need.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
So how would you do that? I have an idea. No. I almost want to pick a couple days this holiday break where we put our phones away for 6 hours.
I have just said to Ryan, I want to do almost like a weekly phone detox where technology. Yes. And maybe it's okay, we can watch TV at 5 p.m., but until then, everything's off. Yep. Everything's off. Yep. We can play board games. We can listen to music because we love music in our house. Yep. But I think that's so smart. Just the constant hum of a phone, even being in your presence.
It's so distracting.
It's distracting. Mine's here on the couch.
I know.
I sense
Mine's never away from me. I know.
I just sense that it's there.
I know.
And there's something so freeing when you just turn them off, put them away.
Yep.
And be present. We don't get the chance to do that.
No, I think that's really true. And just having that quiet time in the house. And
that's a great one.
Okay, so maybe we do that.
How about do an assessment and an inventory of the things that you do.
Okay.
And which ones do you really, truly love? And which ones are you just doing out of tradition or habit or because that's the way you've always done it?
What are some things that you really love that you want to keep doing?
So in our house, the one thing I love is that Santa every year has a treasure hunt. We go to the place where the cookies and milk were left.
Okay.
And that's where our first clue sits. And so we grab stockings. And then from there, we take the stockings around the house and we gather all of the stocking stuffers based on clues. And that was the highlight of my childhood. My kids say it's their favorite thing. It's just so fun. And the excitement in the morning that you're already feeling.
Yes.
And then to kind of rush around the house for a few minutes and gather all these little toys.
What a special thing Santa does for you
guys. It's fun. So
that's very cute.
Love that one.
Okay. I really like that one. My mom always did a birthday cake for Jesus.
Oh, I've heard of this. Yes. I think that's so sweet.
Yes. And we would always decorate it. And we would always sing happy birthday to Jesus. And I think what was cool about that was it was a fun activity, but it also kept Jesus in the forefront, right? Yeah. The constant battle of the consumerism of Christmas and Santa and all of the things that we love. And I'm not anti any of these things.
No.
It's just, why are we really celebrating Christmas? That was a good way for young kids to recognize what we were doing.
So when would you make the cake?
So we would usually make the cake on Christmas Day.
Oh, okay.
Christmas Day is, I don't know, I always feel like we kind of struggle on Christmas Day, to be honest with you, because, it's a long day.
I was just going to say, they unwrap, it's all the activity, and then it's just kind of
we usually start at 4 a.m.
Yes.
Somebody is up shooting out of a cannon.
Yep.
And, start the day really early. Yeah. And, it's 6:30 a.m. and Charlie and I are like, holy moly,
Oh,
we're on
yeah.
our 50th cup of coffee.
Oh my gosh. I know.
We got nothing but daylight ahead of us, like when is too early to give them melatonin?
Yeah.
Yes. And a lot of, toy assembly and batteries, that whole grind, right? So I don't know. I've been on and off with it. Like we haven't consistently done it.
Yeah.
But I would like to do that more now. And now that my youngest is 3, I think it wouldn't be a complete disaster to try to decorate.
And he can participate a little bit more now.
You could always make like fresh whipped cream, and I would, just think about this. I would lick the whisks, and then we would use sprinkles and do the, like it was delicious and fun, and so it would be Christmas Day, and then we would serve it after Christmas dinner. Yeah,
I really like that.
Yeah, I thought it was really good too. And she's Italian, so she would do fried dough every morning with cinnamon sugar. There was a lot of food traditions.
Yes,
and like I said, we're not quite there. As our kids get older and we have a little bit more bandwidth to be able to cook or spend hours in the kitchen, we will, because I really enjoy cooking too. But that's what always
food is such a huge part of tradition.
The smells
exactly.
I know. Yeah. Like we would wake up every morning Christmas and it would smell like a bakery. It's the best.
My mom used to get these little tea rings. There was a lady locally who would make these really good. They were Danish tea rings, I think.
What's a tea ring?
So it's a circle and it's a pastry and it would have cream cheese, some type of cream cheese frosting in the middle and then frosting over the top. And she would always have those waiting out on the kitchen counter. I just remember.
So good.
But it's so fun, those things that you don't eat any other time of year.
No, exactly. Okay, so I kind of talked about one tradition that I really love around the birthday cake for Jesus. What about things that we would want to let go of? Do you have an idea of maybe something that you don't want to carry into this year or next year in terms of Christmas?
There's one that I have given myself flexibility on. So I still do it, but if it's a busy year and I don't get around to it, I'm not going to kill myself to get it done. And that is holiday cards. And I know you love holiday cards. I know.
But this year, I got really behind.
Yeah.
And I had to scramble. Mine are not coming in for a couple days. And I will literally have to turn them around. But the only reason, I'm going to be honest, the only reason I felt is I was like, well, we've done it every single year, so we got to do it this year.
I know.
So I commend you because I don't think it should be something that no one notices. Not a single person except us would notice if we skipped a year.
Yeah, I did skip a year. And I just was like,
I'm going to be honest.
Right.
I didn't notice.
Yeah. And I just was like, well, it's just too much. It's too much to try to coordinate. I didn't have the contact list updated and addresses. And I just was like, you know what? I'm just going to use my energy towards other things this year. And it was fine.
Commend you.
And we still have friends. And we still receive holiday cards from others.
Listen, it's not that I didn't love your beautiful cards from years prior, but just to recognize, it's not to say nobody notices, but it's why are we doing this? Why do we feel pressured to?
Yes.
Because if it feels too much, and for this year, it did.
Yeah.
It felt too much. And I somehow managed to do it, spending an hour picking out the card, making sure the addresses were good. Spending way too much money.
I know.
That's the other thing where I'm like,
the days of just going to Target.
Who do you think you are? I'm looking at these websites where I'm like, this is literally double what I paid last year.
Yeah.
And the other thing is too, I did not grow up in a Christmas card family.
Okay.
I did not. We did not send one out. We didn't get this influx of Christmas cards. I don't know. It wasn't a big thing. And then I really kind of enjoyed it when I started dating Charlie. And this is 20 years ago. And anytime I would visit his house over Christmas, there would be a stack of Christmas cards. And I really enjoyed going through them.
Yeah.
And I think for me, it became more of a milestone thing where someday I want to do something with them.
Yes.
But who the hell? I'm going to remember what my kids look like this year. I don't need Christmas card.
Right. Yeah, I know.
To tell me that, So anyway, I digress. So speaking of traditions that we've gotten conned into, do you do the elf?
Oh, you know it. You know it.
We do too. It's
hook, line, and sinker.
It's a thing. And I don't know how to unwind this.
I don't think it's possible.
It's really not. And I don't know. I'm also realizing I've got some motivation because I realize that there's such a finite amount of time that you can really experience the magic of Christmas through your kids' eyes. And it is really such a special, magical thing. You do unnatural things to produce this magic because it's so special and it's so unique. But I had this epiphany the other day as our kids were running downstairs to see what Elf was doing. And it was the first day, I think, of December. It was December 1st. And they were running downstairs and they were so eager to see what Elf was doing. And the pure shock and awe in their face. I was like, man, it's all worth it. It's just like in that moment. And then I had this realization. I think that we do these things so we almost can experience magic through them. But I've realized through spirituality, we as adults have the ability to experience moments of complete shock and awe by exploring and researching and learning about spirituality.
Yes.
At least that's what I feel like it's been for me. And I know, knowing you, it is for you as well.
Yes, 100%. Because where else do we get that in our lives anymore?
We don't. We get temporary highs from temporary things, and it's not even it. It's like these magical synchronicities we were talking about in the last episode.
Yeah.
Signs or things that are meaningful to us.
Yeah.
Messages that show up in very unique ways. But, even this week we posted about the astrological significance of Christmas.
Oh, I know.
And understanding and learning about astrology is almost like learning about a new language and learning about a different way in which God can communicate with us.
And learning about God in new and different ways that make him even more unbelievable and impressive and amazing and awe-inspiring.
The scriptures say that the universe was done with God's hand. So, of course, there would be magic in that.
Yeah. If you have not seen the Instagram post, go to @Spirit Outspoken because it's very cool.
Yeah. It's all about how the three wise men found Jesus through
astrology.
I mean, in essence, the theory is that they were astrologers.
Well, what I thought was so cool is that they were touching on the fact that because they were astrologers, they were interested in the movement of the planets versus comets and things that astronomers would be looking for.
Yep.
And that is why they were able to avoid having Herod's astronomers or the Chinese watchmen come and find Jesus. Because if you remember, they were trying to kill all the little boys that were being born during that time.
Yep.
And so using astrology, it not only held immense significance in terms of the planets that were involved and, all of that, but also just the fact that that's what led them and kept away all the people who would have harmed him. It's so cool.
It's very cool.
Yeah.
It's like God knew what message would be received and by who, right?
Yeah.
And like the best way to give that message forward, right? I know. Yeah, check it out if you haven't seen it yet. It's really fascinating. Cool. And again, it just like stuff like that feels magical.
It does. Yeah.
Because it reaffirms the magic of Christmas. And who knows, like when Jesus was born? We don't know, actually. It was never stated in the Bible. So people have different theories of when and how. But this one in particular really connects if you understand the meaning of which we spell out in the post. But yeah, I don't know.
That is such a good point. Spirituality is a sense of awe and wonder that we just don't get anywhere else.
Yeah.
The only other place I say I would feel it is nature. But again, that's God's creation, right?
Creation.
And so I feel very connected spiritually when I'm outside.
I do too. Okay, so when you're talking about the Advent, talk us through what the 4 pillars of the Advent are.
Yeah.
And what we need to be centering on.
So if you've ever gone to a Christian church that follows the Advent, each candle on the Advent wreaths symbolizes a different emotion.
Yep.
So those 4 are love, happiness, peace, and joy. And so we just thought it would be interesting to kind of look at that as a guide, if you will, of what the season is all about and reflect a little bit on how can we incorporate each of those aspects more into our holiday season and what might get in the way of those things. So when it comes to love, sometimes it can be very triggering for people around the holidays. Either they've lost someone or they're going into a family situation that maybe is difficult or around people who are difficult. So let's just chat. What would be ways that people can increase love?
Okay, well, I'll just kind of talk a little bit about my own experience. So full transparency, I feel like I'm going into this Christmas with a little apprehension emotionally because this time last year was in a really tough part of treatment. He had no hair. He looked like he had cancer, which was a very short stage of his treatment. But there was about a solid 2 months where he looked for the first time like he matched his diagnosis, right?
Yeah.
Which was really difficult on me and Charlie and the rest of the family. And different things are reminders for me. And I know that I will be okay once I go through this Christmas season, that we will rewrite our history in a way. You know what I mean? Like this will be the recency that I remember, not last year. So I feel like the way that I mitigate that is I try to turn that energy into something that feels good. And that's normally an expression of love. And I actually met this dad who had cancer twice as a young boy and then as a teenager. And every year, he and his mom go to Children's and they bring a bunch of Christmas gifts to children.
Oh.
And I thought about what a beautiful expression of love that is. And that's sometimes how I handle my own pain, is I figure out a way that I can give in a way that is soul fulfilling.
Yeah.
So I think that's how I'm going to focus on love this year, is try to figure out other ways that we can help other people.
Yeah.
And my sister-in-law, she set up something for the kids and everybody to do Feed My Starving Children. So they're going to prepare food for people that need it this holiday season. And I think that that's a really good lesson of love. Like when you can give your time and you can give your energy.
Yes.
And or your resources, and you want nothing back in return. That is a deep, deep expression of love. So I don't know. I think that's how we're going to focus this year.
Yeah. Ours are very similar. So for us, we do the giving tree at school. So my kids go to a Christian school. And so they have those, different aspects of giving in the classroom, which I'm so grateful for. And then we're also doing Feed My Starving Children. So, and the other way with love is just trying to be really present with my kids. Like we've already talked about with some of the traditions, like just really being there and being focused on family is how I'm going to incorporate love.
I love that. So punny. Okay, what about peace? I think we talked about peace.
I think everything we've been talking about involves peace, right? Like
take
the pressure off and don't rush.
Don't rush. Yeah,
Stillness.
be mindful. I overschedule the shit out of us.
Oh, it was like, oh my gosh, there's a gingerbread house and there's a Santa thing and there's an ice castle and there's ice skating and there's cookies and there's a tea and
I know. And I think what was sort of helpful this year is that Thanksgiving was super late.
Yes.
So it was like right after Thanksgiving, you're like, boom, it's December.
And the weather here was nice. The kids could still be outside. They weren't stir crazy. Yeah.
But we went through a bout of like serious illness in our house, and we literally had to wipe off 5 things off the calendar.
Yeah, it forces you to be.
Yeah, we had like a holiday dinner and then all this other stuff planned. And we literally were like, we have to just like cancel it all. And in hindsight, like obviously it's a bummer that we were sick and we had to cancel, but I'm recognizing that I don't feel totally depleted going into the holidays. And normally I'm like, I'm exhausted.
Yes.
I actually feel like I'm excited and ready for next week. Where normally I'm like, I literally cannot do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe not overscheduling.
Yeah. I love that.
My social Gemini butterfly. Just
you
need to handcuff me, get my phone
Jason's
away.
like, yes.
More. Okay, so we've got
hope. What about hope? That's a good one. That's where I feel like the reflection piece of Christmas for me comes into play. And it's kind of like reflecting on where I've been.
Yes.
And then where, as a family, as an individual, where are we headed in the new year?
Absolutely. Jesus stood for hope.
Yes.
It was just this new gift, this innocent child that quite literally changed the world, changed everything. And I think that his very birth, his very existence, the magic surrounding it, the hope he brought people then and even now, right? It's like if you're still and you focus and you meditate on that, you feel that hope.
Yeah.
And hope lends joy.
Yes.
It's like if you can focus on what could be, the positivity, that's what stirs up those feelings of joy. And it doesn't matter what you're going through. If you can hang on to hope, I mean, you can see a path forward.
Yeah.
Right? It's like what we were talking about earlier on in season 2 of, small positive thoughts forward bring you to joy. And even like a place of neutrality, you can see through that. But without hope, you can't even start.
Right.
Right? Yeah.
I love that.
Joy, love, hope.
Yeah.
Happiness, joy.
Joy. And how are you adding joy into your holiday season?
Laughter.
Yeah.
Always. Like, we just don't take things too seriously. I think the way that we survive really stressful times anytime is to laugh our way through it.
Yes.
Like, I mean, we have a child that is, we've shared previously, that's on, still significant treatment through leukemia. And he goes on a medication monthly that significantly affects his temperament.
Yeah.
Steroids are hard for adults. It's even harder on kids. They're tiny little bodies, and just getting like a really high dose makes them anxious, irritable, frustrated. And I mean, some of the things that are said, exactly, like Rachel knows, it's inappropriate to say on a podcast, but some of the things that are said are absolutely ridiculous, but we have to laugh about it.
Yeah.
So
the roid rage.
So we laugh in those instances. I think keeping it light, keeping it fun, not taking ourselves too seriously, and not I put so much pressure on myself as a mom, and I feel like I figured out my perfectionism in most areas of my life, and I haven't yet as a mom.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's a hard one.
It's a hard one, and it's a lot more. It's the most important thing in my life.
Yeah.
That I've ever had. So trying to make these memories, trying to make it special, it's like you're squeezing the puppy so tight. It can suck the joy out of the room. So I think letting go, flowing, allowing for that space for silliness and, okay, well, that didn't go as planned, or we burnt the cookies. All right, let's laugh about it versus, do what my instinct would be, which would be to throw them out the window.
I know. It's true. I love it. All right, you guys. So we've touched on a lot of different things here, but we're hopeful that everything we shared today that you can, one, relate to, that you feel a little less pressure to do everything perfectly this Christmas, and that you allow yourself some freedom and grace to just enjoy it, soak it up. And in order to help encourage you with that this week, we are going to do a resource where I will list out each of these 4 areas we've talked about: love, peace, joy, and hope. And we'll just have some ideas, kind of like we did with the chakra thing last week, some ideas of how you can incorporate these into your holiday season.
I think it's perfect. Well done. All right, guys, Merry Christmas. We hope you have a beautiful, blessed holiday. Rach and I are going to be taking some time over the holidays to rest, regroup, be mindful, do all of the things that we talked about on this podcast today. So that means that we're going to be pausing filming, but we will be coming back in January. We're so excited for season 3. Look out for it. We will post and give you a heads up on social media when that will be released. And in the meantime, check out spiritoutspoken.com. Check out Spirit Outspoken on Instagram and TikTok, because we will continue to post daily goodies around spirituality to keep you engaged until next year. Take care. Lots of love.
Thanks for joining us for today's episode. If you're ready to take your spirituality to the next level, be sure to check out our website, spiritoutspoken.com. There you can download free educational resources, read our latest blog posts, and join the Spirit Outspoken community.
And don't forget to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Spirit Outspoken to stay up to date on news, happenings, shenanigans, and all things Spirit Outspoken.